All right, good morning. Welcome back to TwinStick Garage. So on today's episode, I'm going to pick up where I left off last Saturday, putting the Spicer 6-speed transmission in there. So if you watched that episode, I installed the Eaton clutches and pressure plate, and then I stabbed in this 6-speed transmission, which was a bit of work. Old TwinSticks was pretty beat by the time he got it in there. I know professional heavy-duty mechanics, not self-taught hacks like me, probably wouldn't have had as much trouble, but I finally got it in there thanks to the strong arm floor jack and all the adjusting screws. So a bit of a learning process. It's in place now. And so now what I need to do is, like I said, pick up where I left off. I got to hook up the clutch linkage. I'm going to hook up the drive shaft, and then there are some adjustments to be made or measurements to verify that the throw bearing is in the right position there. So I'll show you how to do all that. And then after that, I figure what I might do is start putting this interior back together, because this truck's not going to build itself. It's amazing that 50 years later, all right, so if you're not a YouTuber and you don't videotape yourself taking apart either your transmission or when you do a restoration on a truck, taking apart anything, it's always a good idea to take a bunch of pictures, because sometimes it just doesn't make sense when you're going to reassemble, and it's nice to have that as a reference. So in my case, this rear transmission support, I thought I couldn't figure out how this was working, because the gear center had it bolted. See how it drops down? They had it bolted up like this. And I was like, well, the bolts are way too long, so maybe they got it upside down. So I flipped it around and it's still not gonna support. So I'm thinking, well, what the hell? This transmission was in here before and this was the supporting mount for it. So then I went back to episode 86 and I took a closer look. And what that revealed is the spring actually goes underneath the bolt and it supports it from underneath, and that's kind of a cushion. So I'll flip this back the way it was. The gear center did it right, TwinSticks did it wrong, and I'll be able to put this back the way it was. So once again, take lots of pictures when you're doing a restoration. All right, so now that that's good and secure, I was able to get the transmission jack out of there. Now the transmission's held at the back, and now I'm gonna tackle all the bolts. So I haven't torqued them all yet, so it's calling for, did some research, calling for blue Loctite and 7/16 bolt, 5/8 head on an aluminum bell housing. They're calling for like 50 foot-pounds of torque, so I'll go ahead and put 50 all the way around, and I'll put in that missing bolt that I didn't put in last Saturday. And then once that's torqued up, I'll start tackling the clutch linkage. Okay, and always a good idea to mark out the ones that you've tightened with a little paint marker, just to give you the confidence that you did double check and torque. I think there's about 10 of those all the way around. Okay, onto the clutch. All right, so it's all connected there now, and you can see, step on the pedal, it operates that arm there. Nothing too complicated. No squeaks, but not much free play, so I think it's gonna need a little bit of adjustment. So I thought what I'd do is put the shifter back on, now that everything's in place. And tighten that all down. Sure, a lot easier with the floor out. I can't imagine doing this job with the floor in. I credit where credit is due to the heavy duty mechanics that actually swap these, because getting to these top bolts would be a bit of a pain. Now I know on the 379s there's a oval, well, rectangle floor panel, so maybe when you pull that out you can still get to those top bolts. Before I get too far, I better check to make sure this is right. Oh yeah. Up against the dash, overdrive. Nice. Okay, I'll tighten that down and then start doing those clutch adjustments. Home stretch on the transmission anyway. Okay, time to put the drive shaft back in. Now you want to make sure your grease zerks are lined up front and back. That way if your drive shaft's down, you can grease the front and the back U-joint. And then what I've done is, seen it in earlier videos, but I've taken a longer bolt with the fine thread and then just put a notch on there, cut the head off, and then a screwdriver flat. And what that allows me to do is to put the cap on straight. And then you can back them out and put the nuts in. Now, the nuts come brand new with a little bit of, looks like a dried Loctite. But since these have already been used, I'll just add a little dab of blue in there. Couldn't hurt, right? And follow the recommendations. I usually put 40 on them and then put little marks sideways. That way when I go down here and do a grease job, if these have turned, I know they've loosened off. There's also ones with the locking tabs that you bend up, and those ones are more secure than these, but the Loctite should help hold them in place. Oh, come on, Mark. Can't even draw a straight line. There we go. And then, of course, give it a fresh squirt of grease when you're all done as well. One trick I actually learned, doing a little research online, is when you go to grease it and you only get grease popping out of one or two of them, and let's say you have one or two, the grease isn't coming out, you can always try the zerk on the other side. But if that doesn't work, what they recommend is backing the nuts off and lifting this cap up 1/16 of an inch and just letting it breathe a little, and then try and shoot grease in, and then it should actually start popping out of there. I thought that was a pretty good trick. Never knew that one. Oh, come on. Come on, Mark. There we go. Okay. Let's try out my Milwaukee. Out of grease. Huh. Murphy's Law, right? Nah, ain't that the way. Right as you get under the truck, you run out of grease. Okay. Oh, this guy's coming out this side. Yeah. That's full. Some is good, more is better, right? Okay. Oh. Now I'll clean up my mess. There, I got pop there. Got pop on the front. I got pop out of this one. This one. Let's check the bottom. And I got pop out of this one. So she is good and greased. Ready to go. Okay, what's next? I guess finally onto that clutch, I suppose. Okay, so first up is adjusting the bearing position. And now that I'm thinking about it, if you recall in the last episode, I was pointing out that adjusting nut. I don't know what I was thinking. I should have actually taken the clutch and clocked it so that was on the bottom. Because right now it's at about 2 o'clock. So if this isn't right, I'm gonna have to crank the engine over and get this adjusting nut in that little window at the bottom of the transmission. So let that be a lesson to you, to put the adjusting nut at the bottom in case you need to make an adjustment. But give credit where credit is due. Easy Rider, Ezra, he had this idea to just use a 1/2 inch extension because you're trying to get between a 1/2 inch and 0.56 of an inch between the release bearing and the clutch brake disc. And if you actually look at this, it's just a hair, well, yeah, it's just a hair over. Oh, right on the money, right on a 1/2 inch. So what I can do is crawl underneath there and just stick this between the release bearing and the clutch brake and see if it fits. Okay. Let there be light. Okay, so there's the throw-up bearing, and then there's the clutch brake. And where's my 1/2 inch extension? Oh man, that's way too much. Damn, I can almost fit the round part in there. Okay, well, that's ungood because the adjusting nut is way up there. Damn, I wish I would have had enough foresight to put that nut down here at the bottom. So what I could do now, I guess, is either get the engine turning tool that I used when I did the jakes on the cab over, or I just keep bumping the starter and crawling underneath here and see if they can get the nut to land in this window. Man, oh man, if I had a time machine, I would go back and put that clutch where it's supposed to be. Oh well, no biggie. All right, so I decided to do the lazy method and just give it a little crank. Now, the problem with these cats is it doesn't take much and they start, so I want to just give it a little bump. All right, let's try that. Again, I don't need much. I just need to turn it just a touch. No, needs a little more time. All right, so since the electric starter's letting me down, I'm going to use the Mark powered starter. So this is a turning tool that you get from Cat. You can actually get knockoffs on Amazon. I actually bought the Cat one and then realized I can buy one for half the price. But oh well, I got one legitimate Cat part in my toolbox. And there's that cover plate. You can take those 2 bolts off and take that cover plate off. And then this guy essentially goes in there, engages the ring gear, and then you can just use a 1/2 inch ratchet to manually turn the engine over. And the point of that is so you can actually turn the engine over. When I did the jakes on a bunch of episodes ago on the Iron Duke, you can turn, when you adjust your jakes, you can turn it to the top dead center and then you can go 180 out and adjust all the other cylinders. So you kind of do 3 at a time. Now this will be good because it's teaching me a lesson to make sure the next time I put the clutch on is to clock it where that adjusting nut's at the bottom. I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but just in the zone, I guess. So it's teaching me a good lesson. But then once I finally get it to the bottom in that little window opening where I can get at it, I'm gonna mark out on the damper here, I'll mark a little line to this bolt and then I'll write clutch. And that way, next time I need to go adjust the clutch, I can just keep cranking the engine over until that line mark, or that mark on the damper lines up with that bolt. And I'll know that without having to go underneath the truck 30 times to look to see if I'm in the right spot, I'll know I'm in the right spot and I can make the adjustment to the clutch. It's just a lovely spot to get down to. So then that just fits right in there. Of course, you knock your light over. See? And then put the ratchet on it. And now what I'm gonna wanna do is I'm gonna wanna have that guy turn this way. So it's gonna turn the flywheel counterclockwise. And bring that guy down. It's just a brutal spot to get to. My compliments to the Caterpillar engineers. But it works. Okay, so I'll do this for a bit and then I'll go down and check and see where that nut is. Some engineer you are, Mark. I got my directions wrong. So I'm turning it clockwise, which is turning it counterclockwise. So now I'm going the long way around. Oh well, I'll get there. There, I think that might do it. Tell you one thing, folks. Don't attempt a job like this without some good knee pads, because I don't know, man, I've been underneath this truck so many times doing this project. Oh, perfect. Dead center. Okay, so there's the adjusting nut. And if I look at the instructions, it states to change bearing position, you must hold down the clutch pedal, and then you just turn that nut. So turning it clockwise moves the bearing towards the transmission, which will close that gap, because if you recall, it's too big now. So a couple twists of the nut once I push the clutch down, and we should get to our 500 thou. Gives me peg high idle stick vibes. Okay, so I marked on there, I didn't have enough space to write clutch, but I'll know what that means. Okay, so now the clutch is depressed, I can go underneath here and turn that adjusting nut. Ow. Okay. What is it again? Push and turn to hold adjusting nut clockwise, moves bearing towards transmission. Okay. Okay. Guess I could try that again. Another iterative process. I'll have to let the clutch out and then measure the gap and then probably do that again. Oh, fun. Let's get in place here. It's hard to film and try and do this all at the same time, but I'm doing my best. Oh, it's a snug fit. Oh no, I guess when it goes against the back. Yeah, that should be good, because this is 500 thou and it's good for 5 to 560 and it's loose. So I'm gonna call that done. Can always check it again after I run it a bit. Good enough for this outfit. Okay, the next one is the clutch brake squeeze. This might be tricky to do by myself. So you gotta get a 10 thou feeler gauge and between the bearing and the clutch brake, and press the pedal down to see if it clamps the gauge. So I might need someone to come out here and help me in the shop. All right, the beautiful Mrs. TwinSticks has offered her services to apply the clutch pedal. Thank you, honey. So I get the 10 thou gauge, 40, 20, come on, 12, 10. You know what the clutch is used for, Nikki? Starting out and backing up. There's a big debate out there on whether or not you should use the clutch to shift. I don't think you need to. Okay, step on it all the way. Well, let me make sure the camera's in there. Okay, step on it all the way. Okay, yeah, it holds it. What do my instructions say? The gauge does not clamp, adjust linkage to achieve clutch brake. Okay, let off. I'll do it one more time. Okay, hammer it. Well, just press it down. That all the way to the floor? And it holds it. All right, we're perfect. All right. Okay, the next measurement. Oh, slowly let up on the pedal. Okay, so I'm gonna go down there again and pinch the thing, and then you start lifting up the pedal. Until I tell you to stop, but then you got to hold it there until I come around and measure. Okay, now slowly let up. Whoop, back up, back squeeze. Okay, slowly let up. Whoop, stop there, no, come back. Squeeze again. Okay, whoop. You just got to raise it just a touch until this guy falls out. Okay, so push it all the way. It's only going to be up like an inch.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, now squeeze it again.
Well, I'm squeezed right now.
Uh-oh. That's all the way to the floor? Oh, there it goes. Okay, up slowly. Stop. Go in. Up slowly. Stop. Yeah, down. Up. Yeah. That's about a 1/2 inch, I'd say, is to where it released. And it's a 1/2 inch to 1 inch. So we're going to call that one good and go on to step 5. Thanks for your help, hon. Okay, so they're saying the gap there between those fingers and the bearing is 1/8. So I need 125 thou. So I'll just add up some gauges here. 125. Okay, that's what we're looking for. It's hard to film and do this at the same time. Uh-oh. Yeah, that's a big negatory. No, that's way too snug. Okay, some adjustment required. So, according to this, I've got to adjust the upper pedal stop. So I basically got to release it so the pedal needs to go higher, which will bring those guys farther away, I think. Now, of course, being an old 359 Peterbilt from the 70s, it doesn't have it's got the pedal that goes through the floor instead of the one that hangs up high. So if you've got one that hangs up high, there's usually a stop up here. But in this case, the stop is going to be down there on the linkage. So back under the truck, Mark. So I couldn't get the 1/8 of an inch gap there because I had this linkage on the bottom end of the rod here. And so I was out of, I couldn't go any longer because there was only, I don't know, 1/4 inch of threads there. So I shortened it up. I took this adjusting nut off, shortened it up, and then I went to, see how there's 2 holes here? I went to the upper. And what that's doing is it's giving me a little more free play. And so if I push it all the way forward, the biggest gap, this, the 1/8 of an inch fits in there and doesn't fall out when I push it. So that's, I got the nice gap there. So if I pull that out, see now I got the nice free play. I did think the clutch was a little tight at the top there. So now I think that's good, but I might have thrown the other stuff off. So I'm gonna have to just double check the squeeze test and that I still got. Well, I guess I could check the 1/2 inch gap because you could do that without the clutch pressed. Yeah, that didn't change. And that makes sense because I'm just playing with the linkage now. I didn't change this nut. So now I just got to I got to invite Mrs. Sticks back out to the garage and get her to step on the clutch there and see if I still got my 10 thou gap. But once I do that, I think I'm going to be set. Okay, this time I got my daughter helping me because Mrs. TwinStick says she's busy now. So, okay, step on it all the way, Reese. We'll do the pinch check. Oh, hang on. Okay, but up. Okay, now all the way. Push it all the way to the floor. Is the clutch pedal harder than pushing your Mustang? Okay, push it all the way down, squeeze it. Okay, good, it does pinch. Okay, lift it up. Oh, just a little bit. Go back in. Okay, hold it there. Up just a touch. Stop. Okay, so I measured it at 2.5. You squeezing it, push all the way to the floor. There you go. So it's 2 inches, and I measured it where it just released at 2.5. So that's perfect, Grace. Thanks for your help. Okay, so last step, well, almost last step, lubricate, and I guess I still got to put oil in the transmission, but to lubricate, they want you to put a little bit of grease on the input shaft and yoke. Now, a lot of people are probably thinking, well, you're going to get grease on the clutch brake disc, but it actually is supposed to be a little bit greased up, and there's supposed to be some grease on the shaft as well, because that'll help the bearing go in and out. So I'm just going to put some grease right on the shaft there, and then I'll grease the release bearing one last time as well. Yeah, you can see it squishing out there. Yeah, that should do. Now, some of the newer trucks, they actually have grease lines that come down from your throw-up bearing here. So instead of the grease zerk being up there, it'll just have a line that comes down, and then the grease zerk will be down here, so it's easier to grease, but that's not too bad to get in there. Okay, so I think that is just about done. I do have a couple little spots here on the bushing, so I'll grease those. And then there's one that's just a horrible spot. I should have done it when I did it, when I had the transmission out up there at the bushing on that long arm from the clutch pedal. But I'll try and reach up there and just make sure everything's good and greased. And then I'll take the cap off of here, the plug, and start filling it with 50 weight oil. All right. I got a nice new pail of Mobile 50 weight synthetic. You don't want to know how much this costs. And it's probably going to take, probably 2/3, 3/4 of this pail. So that's a lot of pumping. But I'm excited to actually drive this one. I'm not going to go for a drive today. There's no floor, no windshield. But I'll start it up and at least see if it moves back and forth. Make sure I did everything right. I hope so. And it's definitely took me a lot longer than I thought it was gonna. It's not a one Saturday job. It's a 2 Saturday job. So if you're gonna swap your transmission in your old Kenworth, plan on a Saturday and a Sunday. Because by the time you get the transmission in, you're probably gonna be pretty beat. And then just tightening all the bolts, putting the drive shaft in, and then doing all those clutch adjustments, it's a bit of work. But it's pretty satisfying when you do it yourself. Oh, I stand corrected. After about 480 pumps, I put the whole pail in there. That's gotta be full, right? Man, this wheel takes a lot of oil. Usually it would start dripping out. Oh, there it is. Yeah, 5 gallons exactly. Okay. Get that out of the way. And then I can put the plug back in. All right, I think we're just about ready for a start. All right, I'll just do a quick start here, see if there's enough juice in the batteries before I open my shop door and let all my heat out. That's a good sign. Oh, shoot. All right, is that enough? Yeah, boy. All right, I better get that shop door open. Ugh. Oh, smoky. God, it's good to hear it run again. Oh boy. Look. Oh, clutch is low. I guess because it's brand new, Mark. Oh, nice and smooth. No noise. I might have done it right. Sweet. Yeah, boy. Oh, look at that blue out in the snow. Sure looks a hell of a lot better than the last time I had it out in front of the shop. Oh, what a treat. All right, still lots of work to do to put this all back together, but oh, it's a good feeling. So yeah, thanks again for watching. I think I'm gonna wrap it up there. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Hope you learned something. Special thanks to the Gear Center for helping rebuild the the 6-speed, the 4-speed, and the rear third member. It's gonna have almost a whole new drivetrain in it pretty soon. Yeah, so with that, I'm gonna, like I say, wrap it up there. Now, you've been seeing Thursday episodes. Every Thursday, I've been grinding away on every Saturday, and then whatever I film is what becomes the episode on Thursday that you're watching now. And I've been doing that every week, and I'm still gonna keep doing that every week, but I really owe it to the patrons that have been contributing to the channel on Patreon. They have been long waiting for some Iron Duke content. So I'm gonna start working on the Iron Duke again. So if you don't see a Thursday episode on YouTube, that is why. Because I'm still gonna do weekly episodes, but there might be some weeks where the episode doesn't show up on YouTube. So if you wanna see everything, go ahead and head on over to Patreon. And if not, you'll just have to wait till I come back to YouTube. So with that, I'll bid you farewell. And yeah, like I always say, don't ever forget, if you got it, truckers brought it.